Hey everyone, welcome back. So this video is going to be a new series of video. They're going to be completely random. I don't know when they're going to drop, it's as and when I get time. But yeah, it's sort of videos that I would like to do ongoing, just sort of like here and there throughout the channel. So in this video, what I want to do is basically pick 5 movies or 5 films from a certain year, which I feel like have good potential to be forgotten. So some people may have seen these way back in the day and forgotten all about them. Some people may not have ever heard of these films, and they might be hearing about them for the first time. Some people may love these films and watch them every week. I don't know, but I think the majority. I've tried not to pick like the massive blockbuster films for this. Probably stuff that I feel like doesn't get talked about a lot. So yeah, with that being said, this is kind of what the video is going to entail. So let's get on to the first movie, which is kind of just the honourable mention of the video. So there's going to be sort of 6 titles in this, 5 films. A good way to start, but only because this one basically kicked off the idea. So I thought it was only right to include it. And then I'll get on to the actual 5 that I'm going to do after this one. So yeah, the first movie is going to be a movie from obviously 2006, and that is Black Snake Moan. So yeah, this movie is a really good movie. I rewatched this one fairly recently. It stars Christina Ricci, Samuel L. Jackson, and Justin Timberlake as well, which I'd completely forgotten until I rewatched the other day. So this basically, like I said, stars Samuel L. Jackson. He plays this kind of like farmer to some extent. Like he does his own work. He kind of like, works his own land, keeps himself to himself, likes the blues. You can tell he's got some sort of like history, some sort of past going on there, which isn't revealed straight away. You follow that character for a little bit, but you also, on the other hand, are following completely separately Christina Ricci's character, who's with Justin Timberlake, and I mean he's got quite a small part in this film. He's not in it very much, but essentially he's been sent off or signed up to the army, so he's having to go off to the army. She's sort of like struggling to let him go to some extent, and she's now left on her own. Now she has addictions to certain substances and certain physical things, shall we say, that she can't stop. So she's on a bit of a downward spiral, and it ends up getting into some hot water and some bit of trouble, and she ends up getting sort of like assaulted essentially, and left by the roadside. So Sam Jackson's character is basically just minding his own business, putting his rubbish out one day, and he discovers her on the roadside, abandoned, possibly left for dead. So he goes over there. He doesn't know what to do. There's no one around. And then he decides that he's going to try and help her out. He brings her back into his house, and then basically starts to try and like mend her, like put her back right, basically. Now, as a God-fearing man, he's being quite honest about the whole thing. He's nervous to go to the police because back there in the sort of tensions between the racial tensions there, he knows not to trust the police. He doesn't trust them one bit. So he decides he's going to try and help her out, but he's going to try and keep it on the low down. He's going to keep it quite quiet. So yeah, it basically follows him then trying to get her back on the straight and narrow, try and help her out, set her right. And that basically means that he's getting her medication. He's like, making sure she's bandaged up okay from what happened to her. But obviously she still has very strong urges to get back with some substances and some physical activity, shall we say, that she's been missing. So eventually he decides he's got no option, but he's going to have to like pretty much chain her down. Like this is what the film is kind of remembered for, I think. So yeah, he decides he's going to chain her down to his house. And when I say that, it's not as horrendous as it sounds. She's free to roam around the house, let's say. He's got lots of flex on the chain, but he knows that every time she tries to get out and escape his house, she's just going to go back and do really bad things that are self-destructive. So he's trying to help her and save her to some extent. She does a fine job. Sam Jackson does a great job as well. Really good story, really good tale, really well shot. So yeah, if it's one that you haven't checked out for a long time, I'd say it's worth going back to. If you've never heard of it before, obviously I'd say it's worth checking out as well. Worth mentioning, no UK Blu-ray for this one as of yet, as far as I'm aware. The import you can get, I think, is region free to my knowledge, because I'm sure I used that in my region, my normal region player for this country. So yeah, worth looking out for on physical if you collect physical, or I'm sure you'll find it somewhere on streaming. So yeah, that's the first one on this list. That's sort of like the bonus one, the one that kind of got the idea starting from 2006, which is Black Snake Moan. Okay, so one of my all-time favourites now. This is a movie called Severance, and this is a movie with I think there's a TV show now called Severance, which is being quite big. It's a Christopher Smith film. This one, I do talk about this, I think, quite a lot on the channel here and there. I try not to overdo it, but maybe I do. This one here is so an hour and 36 minutes long. It's not very long. It's 15 certificate. Stars Danny Dyer, as I say. If you don't know about this film, I mean, I grew up on this one. I just find it hilarious. It's sort of comedy horror, but yeah, these guys basically are sent on a work trip to go and do like a bonding experience. They're on this big bus and coach sort of type thing, and they're driving down this country lane somewhere in a foreign country. This logs down across the road, so they can't go any further. So inevitably, they have to get off. They end up then arguing about what to do, whether to try and go back, whether to like try and walk it to where they're going. Anyway, they end up going off to this explore through these woods, trying to find the place that they've been reserved, like this luxury resort, I think they referred to it as. And as they get there, quite a few of them are basically saying this is definitely not what we're meant to be, where we're meant to be. Whereas like the traditional kind of like manager or leader of the workforce basically is trying to round his troops up and convince them all this is all, we make the most of it, and this is what we're here for, pull together and all that. And they explore their surroundings. Danny Dyer's, he's been chewing magic mushrooms on the coach trip all the way, so he's tripping out everywhere. So many funny lines in this movie. They end up exploring their local area, like I say, and then gradually, as they spend a bit more time there, they start noticing that certain things aren't what they seem, shall we say. There's potentially something else going on in those woods that they're staying in, and maybe they've trespassed into something that they shouldn't have done. It's so funny, so underrated in my opinion. I highly recommend checking it out. Another one of these ones which no UK Blu-ray to this point. There is import Blu-rays you can get hold of. But you can pick up the DVD very cheaply, I think, in this country, so worth checking out. Highly recommend Severance from 2006 as well. So the next movie on my list here is a very different type of film. So, whereas Severance is sort of a comedy horror, this one is a bit of a sort of like almost lovey-dovey kind of romance drama. So, like I said, there's going to be a bit mixed genres on this list. This one is a movie called The Last Kiss. So this is The Last Kiss, which I think, if I remember rightly, is actually a remake of a foreign movie. I can't remember if it's French, potentially. I've never seen the original of this one. I just sort of walked into this one because I was, at the time, following Zach Braff's career, from enjoying him in Scrubs, seeing him in Garden State. I then saw he did this movie, so I checked this one out. So this one basically stayed with me for a long time. This one I really enjoy. So this one, I'll give you again the synopsis of this one. So he plays a guy called Michael. So he's hit the age of 30. He has a great job, and he still has his 4 best friends. So it shows them kind of like, hanging out together, doing all those things that, as teenagers and in your early 20s you do, but they're now hitting that point when you get into your 30s and you've got to then kind of like start making some decisions in life about what you're doing and maybe make some changes as well from what you were doing growing up. And he has this beautiful girlfriend, but his life seems so predictable. He hits that point of like doubt, a bit like almost like a midlife crisis quite early, shall we say, where he's just like everything's mapped out for him and he feels like there's no excitement left in his life. There's no surprises anymore. That's it. He's done. And then he meets this college girl. So yeah, this college girl basically, they're just chatting. They're getting on quite well. A little bit of flirting goes on, and yeah, he tries to resist going any further than just a little bit of flirting with this girl, but things are said, things are done, relationships are frayed in both his relationship and in his friends' relationships, so it follows their characters as well. And he gets himself into a situation where, he basically he makes, let's say, a wrong decision or an arguably wrong decision, and has deep regret. Then it follows him dealing with that and then basically having to come to terms with, I need to confess this, and holding on to that kind of confession of knowing what he's done and how he's going to then breach that into his relationship and the effects that has on the relationship. Really good, really enjoy it. It has one of those scenes. There's certain movies that I always remember where there's a scene where you are just wishing that the actor or the actress is basically making a different decision to what they're about to do. And this is definitely one of them. So yeah, this is a movie where I'm like shouting at the screen saying like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And inevitably he does it. So let's yeah, so I won't say any more. Like, I've kind of tried to skirt around a few of the main kind of issues in that, all of the details in that film. So if you are curious, feel free to check it out. Obviously, that is The Last Kiss from Zach Braff, and that's the second movie on my list here. Okay, so to be fair, on a similar tone, the third movie on this list, we might as well keep them together. It's not too distant in terms of what kind of the plot line is to some extent. Or the kind of like theme of the movie, I should say. And I have talked about this one quite a few times in the past. And I know a few people have sort of picked this up on my recommendation and had a reasonably good time with it. But yeah, I just thought I'd put it in this mix because it happens to hit the same year. And this is one that I really want people to like explore and find out. So this is a movie called Cashback. So yeah, hour and 42 minutes long, 15 certificate. Again, the synopsis for this movie is, after a painful breakup, Ben develops insomnia. To kill time, he starts working at a late shift at a local supermarket. So for the UK, that happens to be a Sainsbury's, where his artistic imagination runs wild. So yeah, so that's the synopsis. Doesn't give too much away, but obviously, yeah, because of his breakup, he ends up having sleepless nights. He just cannot get to sleep. He's laying there. The storyline itself isn't the thing that's amazing in this. The storyline, the acting, and the way that the director directs this movie, and there's transitions in this movie which just blew my mind for the type of low budget film it is and the unheard of movie that it is. I just think it deserves so much more. Obviously, I'm putting some clips in here, all being well, and I'll try and include one of those transitions from where he's talking to someone on a payphone in like a corridor in like a uni student dorms kind of area, and the camera in one shot just basically puts him in his bed, and you'll see that hopefully on here. But yeah, really good. This is described as a romantic comedy, a drama, romance type thing. So again, not going to be for everyone, but I'd highly recommend it to anyone who likes those kind of like not quite rom-coms, more drama-based rom-coms with a little bit of sci-fi in there, because like I've said before in a previous video, this basically has a storyline through it where he gets so involved in time that he ends up being able to pause time. So everyone around him is completely still and he can wander around and do what he wants to, and explore kind of like his local world, his local area, just kind of like doing what he wants to. He does drawing, for example. He draws people. And then when he cracks his hands, I think it basically like everyone starts moving again. So really funny bits in this as well. There's some guys in here that are just always larking around in the supermarket that work there. So funny. Yeah, if you're just like silly, kind of like childish humour, but you also like romantic dramas with like a bit of a hard-hitting sort of like edge in there as well. Really, really recommend it. Can't recommend it enough, this movie. And that is the movie Cashback. Okay, so the next movie on the list here is a movie called Right at Your Door. Now, I did, I think quite a while back on the channel, I picked this up on Blu-ray from an import, because again, no UK Blu-ray for this one. But yeah, this movie is an hour and 36 minutes long, 15 certificate. And this one, basically, again, I'll read you the synopsis. This is a movie based where a dirty bomb goes off in Los Angeles, jamming freeways and spreading a toxic cloud. So, again, going to put some clips in here because I think it's one that you kind of need to see to kind of get an understanding of kind of like, the budget of this movie. It's quite a low budget movie, but what it does with that budget is an amazing kind of story, I feel. Be very careful with this movie. You can spoil this movie for yourself, so don't dig too deep into it. I will obviously skirt around everything I can. But yeah, as I've kind of said previously, and as the kind of synopsis basically there indicates, this guy and this woman are living together in his house. They're, she goes off to work. He's waving her goodbye one day. Everything's normal. And then a short time after she's gone to work, he's still around the house, just, doing tasks, doing chores and stuff. And on the news, he hears that a dirty bomb's gone off, and it's really close by to where they are, where she works as well. So he's obviously concerned. He jumps in his car. He's trying to get to her. He's trying to check out if everything's okay. And you kind of see in the distance all this kind of like aftermath of what's been going on with this dirty bomb that's gone off. People in hazmats and suits are coming out on the streets, basically trying to tell people just go back home, like go away, get out of here. he's torn between, like, does he follow their advice? Does he try and get closer to try and see if his wife or his partner's okay? But he basically can't get anywhere. It's sort of chaos going on the streets. So he has no choice but to turn back home and go back to his home. So he's sitting there, he's trying to find out what's going on, he's frantic, he's on the radio, he's trying to see the TV news updates, check what's going on. He's basically then decides he's going to have to try and border up his house because he doesn't want all this toxic cloud, basically, of this dirty bomb getting into his air system and into his house. So he starts sealing his house up, but he's knowing that he's also sealing out his partner. So he's really paranoid that she's going to come back, and he's kind of like making sure he does everything to try and keep the house accessible enough for her to get back in. But also he doesn't want to like be affected by this as well. So he's got to try and balance this line. Like, for all he knows, she's held up somewhere safe already. Yeah, it's really good. I really enjoy this movie. I don't know why no one else talks about this movie. I think it must have just tanked when it came out. But I highly recommend checking this one out, as all of these movies. I really enjoy it. It's not just about that. It's basically then other things happen while he's in the house. Most of the movie is based around him being in his house, like basically trying to work out what's going on outside, as well we as the audience. Is it safe? Is it not safe? What's gone on? Is his wife okay? Is she going to come back? Borderlines, this sort of thriller / horror kind of element. Really enjoyed this one. Highly recommend again, right at your door. So the final movie on this 5 films from, that was a tongue twister, series that I'm doing here, so from 2006, is a movie called Little Children. So yeah, this is obviously from 2006. It's a 15 certificate, 2 hours and 17 minutes long. Now, I watched this way back in the day, like when it came out on DVD, and I remember really enjoying it, but that was a long time ago now. We're nearly getting to 20 years ago by the time this film came out, or all these films came out. So I thought, I need to rewatch this movie. Again, another one of these classic examples where I don't think there's a UK Blu-ray to my knowledge. There might be an import Blu-ray, I think. I don't have that. But there is a UK DVD, which I think is quite readily available. So, yeah, highly recommend this one. This is described as a dark romance, psychological drama. The synopsis of this one: the lives of 2 lovelorn spouses from separate marriages and a registered, let's say, offender, and if you can get that through the YouTube kind of like, distractions of not being able to say certain things, and a disgraced ex-police officer intersect as they struggle to resist their vulnerabilities and temptations in suburban Massachusetts. So basically, this movie, really good. Now, there was one thing on rewatch on here that did sort of frustrate me and bug me to some extent. I started watching it and I thought I'd accidentally turned on the audio described channel. Now, I honestly thought for a second that I'd accidentally put that soundtrack on from the disc that I had. So I was literally flicking through the different channels, and no, that was the main movie. It's quite intrusive. It's quite odd. It just feels very odd that you're literally listening to a disconnected voice. The voice doesn't even go with the movie almost. It's quite a hard, I don't know, it's a hard kind of like variant of a voice compared to the type of movie you're seeing. It just doesn't fit very well, and it feels very out of place. Like the camera is showing you what's going on, so for this voice to basically be booming over the top of it with pretty much what you're seeing, it just seems like an odd choice to make. But what I would say is, if you get past that in the first sort of like 10-15 minutes maybe of this film, it's definitely worth sticking with it after that point, because the performances in here are amazing. So you've got Kate Winslet in this movie. She does a great job in this film. You've got Jennifer Connelly, you've got Patrick Wilson. So the synopsis is there, but roughly what happens is you've got Kate Winslet, who's like a mother, who's she's married, she's got this husband at home, he works in this office at home. She doesn't see him very often. He's always locked away up in his office. She's looking after their child, who's this little girl. I think she's got the girl. It follows her and her kind of like day-to-day life to some extent. She hangs out at this kids' park, obviously, with her kid and like these other mums that she doesn't get on with particularly well. Like they're there. They're not best friends with her. They've got like a little clique going on, and she's not really part of it. but they do kind of hang out together. And then you've got this other character played by Patrick Wilson, who is on a similar kind of like life sort of like, you know, pattern really, I suppose, but it's kind of flipped. So like he's the guy that's looking after the son of the relationship. So he's married to Jennifer Connelly, and Jennifer Connelly's the breadwinner. She's the, you know, the main money getter, and he's trying to basically pass this law exam, but he's failed it several times, and he's a bit like down on the fact that he's failed it a couple of times. He doesn't feel like he's going to ever pass it, but he is by default he's now basically the main child carer of the family, of their family. So those two kind of cross paths in this children's play area, as you do as, you know, parents. You get other parents kind of like mixing in there. And the mums, the clique of mums that are kind of like, they all kind of like shy away when he comes past them, and they're kind of like, you know, acting very strangely. And it turns out that he's like some sort of prom king, they refer to him as. So this guy that they're all kind of like too scared to talk to, because he's like, he's just one of these things that you don't talk to, like you never get involved with, because he's just so precious to them. He's this kind of almost mythical kind of guy. He has no idea of this. He's completely oblivious to the fact that that's how they feel about him. So Kate Winslet's character basically gets him almost dared to basically try and get his phone number as a bit of a lark from these girls, like all chatting about it, the mum's chatting about it. So sure enough, with like very little fear about it, she goes over and she hangs out, and they're just like messing around with their own kids and stuff, playing in the park, and they strike up a conversation. And from that conversation, you know, things go quite well. They get on fairly well. They're just chatting. And at the end of the conversation, she basically has to come clean to him and say, look, I'll be honest, I've been sent over here on a bit of a bet. The other mums have basically challenged me to try and get your phone number. You don't have to give me your real phone number, but would you pretend to at least give me your phone number so I can kind of show off to the other mums? And he basically goes in, and they actually decide that actually maybe giving a hug would be more appropriate, or more kind of like, I guess, more effective to the mums that are trying not to be watching but are definitely watching. So sure enough, they go in, he agrees to it, he thinks it's a bit of a laugh, so he goes in, gives her a hug, and you can kind of tell there's some sort of like sparks are flying from that moment on. And so from there, this is all very early on in the movie, so it's not really much of a spoiler. But yeah, so that's how they kind of like spark off a conversation and then sort of a relationship to some extent. The movie then kind of follows them to crossing paths on occasion, and then becoming more and more purposely crossing paths, should we say. Start meeting more and more, so it basically becomes like an affair movie. You know, starts off as a will they won't they kind of thing. So that's their kind of storyline going on, which is a really good storyline, really well acted. Like I say, fantastic job by those two characters. Sidelines to that, the secondary storyline that's kind of like being woven through here, which does sort of like interweave at certain points, is there is a registered offender, shall we say, that has been recently released from prison in the same place that they live. And this ex-cop has basically got it in for him. He's found out where he lives. He's basically tooting his horn outside his house, giving him hell every night, telling him he should just go, like leave, you know, making sure everyone around him knows that he's this guy. So there is some scenes in here that, you know, especially due to the subject matter, there's some scenes in here that literally have my jaw on the floor. I just like I think it's the opening scene to where you discover this offender, like how he's introduced. I'm pretty sure it's the opening scene. It's at a swimming pool. If you've seen it, you know. Yeah, and I just I was like everyone that was in that scene, my jaw was on the floor about how they introduce him and like what they do with that character. So yeah, not for everyone. If you're like very easily triggered by certain things, that might not be for you. But it just added to the drama and to the story for me. It's about this guy who's now like technically done his time for what he did, but obviously has a very bad reputation around. The mums in the park obviously know or have heard that he's around. He's doing things that are very, very, very shady, and you know, would be considered extremely wrong by anyone watching. So his character is a really interesting character to see and to watch. And then you got the ex-cop who's like, you know, he's lost his job being a cop, but he's still like dedicating his life now to just making this guy's life hell. And the four characters there that I've just described basically cross over at certain points in the film, and it's such a good film. So yeah, 2 hours and 17 minutes, I think I said it was. Really, really worth checking out. Such a good dramatic film. Highly recommend. And that concludes the 5 films from 2006 for this video. So guys, I just want to say thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you found something interesting in this video. Maybe a film that you've either not watched in a long time and you're going to like dust off and get off the shelf and put back into player. Or maybe a film you've never heard of before that sounds interesting and you're going to check it out. So either way, hopefully it's done something for someone. Hopefully I'll do some more of these along the way. Like I said, they won't be regular videos, but I will drop them randomly on the channel as and when I get time to. So thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.